Since the central position of the soul to direct and guide life is the optimum result, we wonder, generally, why this is not the case from the outset, and why we have to then experience the struggles and efforts needed to achieve that result. The question is pertinent, both for the individual and for the general manifested creation. Why should life itself not be perfect from start to finish? This has led to a number of speculations about life and its significance. From those views that hold that life has no ultimate significance, it just is, and there is no soul and no purpose, to those that look at everything from an entirely opposite view, that the standpoint of the divine, and thus the soul, is the reality, and the external world is simply an illusion or a play of some sort, as well as those that hold that the evolutionary progression we can identify is simply manifesting through our perception of time what is already existent in the timeless reality. There are numerous variations on these themes, as well as additional debated options, such as the multiverse theory, which we need not go into here. We observe in the external world that every being grows from an initial seed form into a mature form over time. From our human observational standpoint, then, we see that development is progressive. We can then extrapolate from this observation to the development of the psychic being and its eventual gaining of mastery over the external being. From our temporal standpoint, it appears to be sequential, while from a timeless standpoint, the entire creation may exist, fully formed and perfect. The human condition finds that the struggles, the efforts, the developmental process provide unique benefits. A proverb in the bodybuilding world is, "No pain, no gain." It is the very effort that develops and strengthens the body, the life force, and the mind to prepare them as optimized instruments in the divine creation. Similarly, as the soul develops across innumerable lifetimes, gathering manifold experience and gaining maturity and strength, it is more capable of attaining its true mastery than if it did not undergo these learning opportunities. We see this in the various tales of growth and adventure that writers have told. There may have been simple, direct, and speedy ways to reach the end without undertaking the arduous and lengthy journey to get there, but the journey itself is meaningful and important. When Odysseus returned from the Trojan War, he needed 10 years to achieve the relatively short distance to his home in Ithaca. The Odyssey tells of all the challenges he faced as he had to withstand tests and trials that required him to develop greater powers of intelligent action, control of his vital nature, and the ability to overcome temptation. In more modern times, Tolkien's Lord of the Rings has a central theme of a journey that led young, innocent people into what might be called the heart of darkness, to overcome the lure of power and domination. Each of the companions of this quest evolved and grew through their participation, and in the end, we see the development of wisdom, compassion, resistance to evil, and the working of the powers of beauty, harmony, and goodwill in a direct and very obvious way when the opposition forces were finally overcome. Most people do not recognize or experience the psychic being consciously in their lives. It remains a hidden power, an influence, a shaping tendency, while the external personality and the instruments of the external life undergo their experiences and gain their powers of action. Once an individual becomes aware of the soul presence, he can begin to shift the standpoint from that of the external being to that of the soul. And as that occurs, he participates consciously in the timeless reality and begins to shape the focus and action of the external being and life. At that point, the path forward may be more swift and direct, even if the challenges remain to be seen, experienced, and dealt with. Sri Aurobindo observes, quote, "The soul in itself contains all possible strength, but most of it is held behind the veil, and it is what comes forward in the nature that makes the difference. In some people, the psychic element is strong, and in others weak. In some people, the mind is the strongest part and governs. In others, the vital is the strongest part and leads or drives. But by sadhana, the psychic being can be more and more brought forward till it is dominant and governs the rest. If it were already governing, then the struggles and difficulties of the mind and vital would not at all be severe, for each man in the light of the psychic would see and feel the truth and more follow it." End quote. Reference: Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, The Psychic Being, Soul, Its Nature, Mission, and Evolution. Section 4, The Psychic Being and Sadhana, pages 110 to 111.